So to retire at 35, you're going to have a cash flow that's coming in that's going to cover your overhead. It means you're going to have, hopefully, if you're saying you're buying property, you will no longer have a mortgage because you would have bought that with everything else. But nonetheless, you probably need to be bringing in around minimum $4,000 a month, and that's without you working. All right, so that's $4,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year, right? 4 times 12, 4 times 11 is 44. Nope, that's 48. So I would still say, I'm still going to say 60. Figure out what the numbers are, but you need to be around 60, and that's probably, I think, on the low end. But nonetheless, to cover your basic expenses. So looking back at it, when I was 18, if you work somewhere for 20 years, you're going to retire. So at 18, that's 38. Now, when you're working in these different jobs that we get, you get what's called a 401k or RRA, the different retirement accounts. You typically are told to put whatever they're going to match, which is usually up to maybe 5%, sometimes maybe 9%, right? So you put that money in there, and that's going to help you start to generate significant savings. However, to meet this ambitious goal, which you can do, you're going to have to be putting a lot more than that. So maybe 25, 30% of what you're making every 2 weeks is going to have to go into that. In order for you to be doing that, that means that the income, your monthly income, and what you're paying out to live, you're going to have to live humbly. So you're going to have to be, it's no going to the club, there's no popping bottles, all right? It's no going to those big restaurants. We're cooking at home. No buying the New Jordans when they come out. We're going to the flea market. We're going to the thrift store. You need to be spending your money like that. And there's nothing wrong with this, because 35 is a really young age.
Exactly.
Which means that you can still do all this cool stuff later. You're going to need to be doing that. You talked about this business. You need to be working this job. All that money needs to be going into that retirement and the bare minimum to paying your minimal costs. You don't need to have your own apartment. You need to have a roommate for these first, until you're about 30, 35. You need to have a roommate. Whatever you're doing, have a roommate. That way your monthly income is lower. You're not paying full lights. You're not paying full, everything do as cheap as possible.
So that's for like housing. What I was thinking is I was going to get into debt for that. I was going to find like a duplex, live on one side, on the other side rent it out, or whatever the rent turns out. That will pay for the mortgage and all that.
So that's absolutely smart, and that makes perfect sense. The problem is life doesn't work that perfectly, right? And so to find that duplex, where are you getting the money for your down payment?
Bank.
The bank.
Yeah.
Banks sounds good, but in order for the banks to give you that money, you're going to need some type of assets, something for them to be like, all right, bet, if we give you this money, we can take this from you if you default. And so that's going to be your first hurdle. That's why I was going to talk about, if you were willing to cave a little bit, the military. I know everybody doesn't like the military, but if you do 20 years in the military, you will get a pension. You'll also get the VA loan. The VA loan is basically a loan from the government to help you get your first property with no money down. And because you do 20 years in the military, you're going to qualify for that at the highest level, as well as all your other benefits. Not to mention, if you are actively in the Army and you're deploying, going overseas for any type of exercise, you're going to get a lot more money. And remember what we talked about before, we're living minimal. So you're not buying a brand new car, no Camaros, no Hellcats, no none of that. No big pickup truck, no none of that. You go to the auction, you get a car for under $10,000 like I did, and you're going to be fine. However, if you go the military route, this goal is possibly going to be delayed till about 38 because you want to get those 20 years in exactly. But if you're doing this, the military route, by the time you're 34, you already know what's coming to do. So you're still working those 3 more years, but don't get it twisted. You're working, but it's like LeBron James. You're playing for fun at this point because the game is over. You've already won. You've maxed out everything. You got the monies coming in. You also needed to be growing this business this whole time. All right. If you're in the military, maybe if you want to do, you said be an electrician, maybe.
I feel like in the military, I'd probably go more to the mechanical side.
You're smart. You're always where I was going. I was going to say maybe be in signal. There's definitely some engineering work there too. But one of those 2 branches could probably take what you're doing, with the electricity and take it to another level. And so you might start another business. Now you got two. But the goal is you want to have income streams coming in. And so if you can get to 35 and have the retirement check set up and start generating money from your business, like everything that you're going to school for, find somebody like 10 years under you that wants to do the same thing. That way you can pay them to do what you were going to do and train them at the same time. And then you can scale that because you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Suddenly, all that money's coming in. If it costs you $75 to do the work yourself and you get them to do it for $50, you make $25. You're not doing anything. And that's the secret of business.
Yeah.
Yep.
The route that I was